Hi, my name's Jack Soul. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today's video is going to be all about running my studio pedal board in stereo. It's going to be all about the things that I needed to do to convert my completely mono board to stereo, and the things that I had to acquire, the equipment I had to acquire to run it into my computer stereo, so to record in stereo. First, I'm going to give a huge shout out. Of course, I'm not sponsored, but I'm going to give a huge shout out to my new piece of equipment, which is the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder. So when I was going to turn my mono board into stereo, also shout out to the people who commented that I should totally be running stereo with the pedals that I have. I completely agree, and it sounds amazing. If you want to hear the board just running into stereo and you don't really care about the logistics, the timestamps are all in the description, so skip right ahead to where I just do some sound demos. But logistically, I wanted to talk about the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder. It's a super cool piece of equipment. So this can record two inputs at once. So and not only that, it has an option for me to, you just click the two input buttons and it will record stereo for you. It'll hard pan each track left and right, and it's super easy to use. The learning curve that I noticed right away with the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder that I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to talk about was this has incredibly high headroom. And they advertise that it makes it almost impossible to peak the audio on the recorder. Now, that's true. What I didn't think of, what I didn't consider, is that because this has such high headroom, you really have to be careful. And to me, I'm not sure if there's a better way, but to me, I had to do a little bit of trial and error to set the level where it wouldn't peak when I put it onto my video editing software to edit the video. So it doesn't peak on here. You can't hear it peaking when you're listening in headphones or over your studio monitors, but that doesn't mean when you transfer the audio that it won't peak on your, I was mixing the mic that I have still going into my USB interface to my computer, and then I was mixing in the audio from my guitars from the Zoom, and it was peaking like crazy even though I set it on here and it didn't sound like it was peaking. Now, if anybody out there has any advice for me, I would love to hear it, because I'm sure that I'm doing it the hard way. Basically, I would just play a bit, export the audio to my GarageBand file, and then see if it was peaking. And that's kind of how I went back and forth and found where we ended up today, which you'll hear at the end. Now, the other thing that was a bit of a learning curve was I really enjoy using amps, which I want to talk about my actual amp stereo setup in another video. But today, I'm going to be running, and in most of my videos moving forward from now on, they'll all be stereo, but for most of my videos, I'm going to be running the UAFX Ruby. Now, today, I'm just going to be running as clean as that pedal can possibly go, just as a pedal platform, essentially. But again, in another video, I want to kind of explore with you guys why I chose the Ruby, and kind of see what tones we can get out of more of the pedal rather than running the board through it. Because I think that amp in a box pedal is really top notch, and I've been liking it a lot. But essentially, I go out of the pedal board stereo into the Ruby stereo, which isn't on my board. I use it more for recording at home, so it stays on my desk. And then I go stereo into the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder. The other reason why I would recommend this device as a stereo rig is it has a headphone out. So even if your amp in a box pedal does not have a headphone out, this does. And again, it sounds incredible because it's almost impossible to reach the headroom of this recording device. So you can't peak, and it sounds awesome, all the reverbs and delays. Now, the other reason why I decided to go with the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder instead of getting, so I use a 2-input Scarlett interface for my computer, and that's ultimately why I couldn't run stereo in the moment, was because I needed one input for my pedal board and then one input for my mic. So the reason why I didn't get a larger USB computer interface, which I probably will do in the future, but the reason why I went with this device is because I can take this anywhere and record professional grade audio wherever I am. And that's really exciting to me because up until now, I've been kind of attached to my desk as far as recording good audio. But with this, I can either record stereo anywhere with my board, or I could do more good audio as far as like you could do acoustic and vocals at the same time anywhere. This runs off battery or USB-C. And I know this sounds like a bit of an ad for the Zoom R4 multi-track recorder, but this is what this YouTube channel is all about. I really like gear, and although I'm not sponsored, I still like to talk about the things that I'm excited about. So I think that pretty much does it. If you have any more questions about the Zoom R4, that does it with this portion. We're going to move to the top-down camera and just talk about the routing of the board. So again, I used to be mono. We're going to talk about how I routed it for stereo. So let's move on to that section. Okay, so like I said, this is just going to be talking a bit of signal chain for the update from mono to stereo. So if you kind of want to see more about this pedal, I have a full pedal board rundown, and it's called Studio Pedalboard Rundown of this board pretty much. Obviously, I'm going to talk about what had to change for stereo, but for right now, I'm going to talk about signal chain and what changed for stereo. So for this video, I'll be starting with my Fender Telecaster, going into my patch bay up here. So it's actually the Temple Audio input output jack. And if you, again, just take a look at the other video I have for it, but it actually slides in between the bars of the pedal train pedal board super easily. And I think it's really understated. I haven't seen anybody doing it, and I'm really excited that works because I love input output jacks. And actually in the next video, I'm going to tell you why I like input output jacks even more. But that's just a little teaser. So I go in at the top here, and the input starts with the Kernum Ridge. Obviously drive pedal, so that goes mono to the Boss SY200. The Boss SY200 is just a mono pedal as well. Love this pedal. And then this is where it gets a little bit out of order, because the Therme is actually mono. But I can't part with that right now on this board. So I'm going Boss SY200 up to the Therme, and that goes in mono out to the MICRCOSM. And then that's where the rest of the chain switches to stereo. So stereo out to the Chroma console, and then stereo to the LBX. And like I said, the rest is stereo, so I won't say stereo every time, to the Mercury X. Now, the Mercury X goes to the Mood, and that goes from a Y cable, so it goes from 2 monos that are plugged into the back of the Mercury X to a 1 TRS cable, which goes into the mood here. And then, of course, with Chasebliss, it's TRS to TRS, which is stereo, TRS to TRS, again to the Lossy. And then out of the Lossy, it goes 1 single TRS cable splits to 2 mono cables to the patch bay at the back, again where you can see the 2 where you can see the 2 cables coming out. Those 2 cables go to the UA Effects Ruby, and then it goes to the Zoom R4 multitrack recorder, where all of the guitar tracks are recorded stereo, true stereo, and then at the end I export it to the file that I have my speaking mic, my talkback mic on, and then I mix it to the video. So I mix all the audio on GarageBand at the moment, and then I export the audio to where I'm mixing or where I'm editing the video. So there was a bit of a learning curve, and that's why you notice a bit of a gap in video making, because I was switching this stuff around. And again, if anybody's excited out there, my band just finished recording our first EP, and in the meantime I've had a couple of gigs and I've been really enjoying coming into summertime. I don't know if anybody else is from Canada out there, but summertime is kind of legendary in Canada because it gets really hot and nice, kind of like some of the southern states. Not as hot, but kind of like that. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to get right into the sound demos of the new stereo board, and we're just going to have some fun with that for the rest of the video. So I'll put some timestamps of what pedals we're dealing with, but I really appreciate you stopping by to hear this and just talk about stereo. If everybody's passionate about stereo, drop a comment, and again, really thank you for stopping by. Okay, so this is just going to be the sound demos part of the video, and it's just going to show off kind of what I showed off in my first Pedalboard video, but it's all stereo. So here we go. Starting it off in the only way you can start off a stereo Pedalboard reveal video, with ping pong delay. Sounds awesome. Going into a chorus reverb. That's an interesting ping pong. It's got long trails. That's the actual Digipong preset on the LBX, which is cool. The chorus reverb patch here is something I made, and it's awesome. I love it. Actually, and one thing that I forgot to mention that changed from my mono pedalboard setup to the studio or to the stereo is I used to have the blooper here, but I went ahead and replaced it with the Mood Mark II, because you can overdub and it does pretty much everything that I was using the blooper for, which is just kind of fun looping. So I decided to switch it out because the Mood Mark II is stereo. So that is awesome upgrade. And okay, but yeah, let's move on to some more sound demos. So let's grab something by the MOSIAC patch with some vibrato from the Chroma console, and I'll add reverb from the Mood. add some delays. Yeah, I like the way more delays open that up, but I actually might go into my preset and add some more activity there. But yeah, like the MOSIAC mode D is amazing. Here's just the reverb from the mood. So I had the Walrus slower, bigger pedal that they just released. I'm pretty sure it's just slower, and it had the sample rate reductions fader, and it was yeah. So it was just a really cool effect that I missed when I let it go. I really like that pedal, but I just kind of moved it on. And the mood has that exact sound, but in my opinion, just better. So the awesome part about the dip switch called Smooth is it activates the knob here, the clock, in a way that smoothly moves the pedal across the intervals. And it sounds so cool. So the slower I would kind of hit a huge. And you can kind of hear that low note in the background. And in the foreground, the reason why I like the sample rate, controlling it smoothly on the clock on this better than the slower, is because it takes it to the extreme. It goes more lo-fi than the sample rate reducer on the slower. So this reverb with the sample rate reducer, I think, is super versatile. It has so many different kind of flavors, right up to, you know, just right down to turn up the smear. Just so cool. All the way down to which is a whole other genre. So awesome pedal there. Let's move into the Boss SY200. So here's a little, you know, sound I've been working on. This is the saw lead preset. The reason why I like this preset a lot is because it's such a simple sawtooth sound, and it sounds really close to old Casio keyboards that were like kind of this big. And some of the videos that I've been watching on those keyboards is like super cool and inspiring. They have such a cool sound to them. So I've been using that patch and putting it through the Gen Loss, and it sounds so close to that old vibe. So here's that sound. And then I'm going to put a big reverb on that. I love that sound, and I'm gonna tease the next video that I'm gonna put out on the channel, but it has some to do with the Boss SY200 and mood, and it has some to do with MIDI as well. So if that piques any of your interests or gets you a little bit excited, definitely check out my next video. And here's one last huge sound. So I'm gonna do my warp preset from the MICRCOSM. I gotta turn it on, I guess. So it's a delay, a multi-delay that jumps an octave in the trails with some vibrato built in. And I'm going to throw mood reverb on that. That's perfect. Yeah, and I'm gonna put Lossy on, and here's what that sounds like all together. And then to top it all off, I love the limiter on the Lossy, so I'm going to press and hold to activate the limiter. And all that's going to do is when the sound gets quiet enough, it's going to digitally distort and break up until it goes quiet. And I think this is one of the coolest features on the Lossy pedal. Here's what that sounds like. It's just so cool. I'm definitely going to end a song like that someday when I find the right context. But even if you move the threshold up for the gate and, I think it's actually the gate for it. Anyway, when you make that more sensitive to cut off the sounds at a higher volume, so it makes it even more interesting because it will break up on you when you're a little less expecting it. But here's a few sounds I'm going to throw on the theremin. Here's a few sounds with the trails breaking up. So hey, thanks again to those commenters on my last video that were saying I gotta go stereo with all the pedals that I have. It adds a whole other dimension. It was an exciting journey, and yeah, I can't wait to shoot more videos on this channel in stereo. Every video on the channel will be stereo from here on out. again, unless it's got to be mono for some reason. But it's more than worth it. I'm super excited. So thanks again for the encouragement, and look forward to that next video. Thanks for stopping by.